Right then, so hopefully some good news. We've had a few comments that all this bad news that we're putting on, like nearly tipping cars over on air jacks and blowing engines up and stuff like that, is all too bad news. Too much bad news, should I say? Which, like I said, in comment to that main guy that was saying it, we could just lie, we could just cover stuff up, we could just not record the bad stuff and pretend it never happened. But when stuff goes wrong, everybody can learn from it, including our competitors maybe. But still, customers need to know it's not all plain sailing, because it's not always when you're working on customer cars either. So we put it on there. Some stuff, it's not that we're trying to hide it. Some stuff we just don't have time to record it, and it don't get recorded, but we can reflect back on it later on and see. But the stuff that we can get some footage of, and we've got time to do it, we try and keep a good catalogue. So hopefully people appreciate that. I'm sure there's 20 people appreciate it for every one that thinks we should just forget about it. But anyway, so we finally got around to getting this on the dyno. It's been a bit of a chew on, to be honest. It took a couple of weeks for us to get around to doing it, but we've just been pretty busy with other stuff. One of the main problems that stopped us getting on the dyno, the prop bushings were absolutely dead. I think we might have a picture of them somewhere, but can't remember. And when Rob went and picked it up from Cumbria, the guy had got the exhaust there apparently, and Rob just says, "Oh, we won't need it," which is a bit annoying really, because we did. So we've ended up just basically, this is the exhaust here, just hanging out outside, bit of silicon tube, and I don't know if you can see it's silicon. I probably can't get that low with camera, but anyway, it is what it is. And Rob again, somebody said that they wanted air filter. I said emails, we'll be taking it off. We'd not done this testing, so Rob decided to sell air filter off this as well, which would be fine if we had all original stuff from our car, but we've not. So that were another problem. So we managed to rig it up, get it onto the dyno a week or so ago, and as soon as you ran it, it's going straight into limp mode. And cutting out as well. So we're going to limp mode and then cutting out as well. So we made sure there was fuel in it, made sure we did a load of stuff. It turns out that the injectors, you can see them now, but it would injector 5 and 6, I believe, or 4 and 6. It might have been 5 and 6. They've got too high resistance in them, which on a piezo injector, on a solenoid type injector, like in some of the stuff that we run, like in the Citigo and the Ibiza and stuff, they'd just give you a misfire fault code and it'd just be misfiring. But because piezos run at such an high voltage, they don't want to be putting, it's in order of thousands of volts, I believe. You don't want to be putting that into the rest of the engine, because you'll start knackering other stuff up. So they just cut out. That's why, for the people that usually watch the Volkswagen videos that we do and more into that sort of thing, like the old Passats and the PPD 170s, the reason they just cut out, like you'd be going down the motor and it just cut out and it were a dodgy injectors because of that reason, because of the high voltages that are running through them. So another setback after all the messing about we'd done. So what we've ended up doing, which is absolutely painful, the injectors in R330D, we're not sure how good they are. I didn't want to test them and the test out okay or give us any problems. So I just said, the only other thing I can do, I got a known good set of injectors in the 1 series that we had next to this one. When we did the first video, a lot of people asking for a video on that, which is going to come at some point. Definitely not like in the next few weeks, too busy. But I just take injectors out of that. That's the easiest bet. So what we've ended up doing, as people can see, there's loads of room here and so much room for activities. When we took the injectors out of the other car, we took the rocker cover off, which is a 335D rocker cover. So this were a brand new one we bought for the 330D when it started breathing heavy, because we thought it were all to do with the breather system that we'd replaced to put this air filter on. So basically we've took the rocker cover off the dead 330 engine, the injectors out of our 135D, and then this is running now, and we've finally got some power figures out of it. So over here we go. So this is running 2.1, 2.2 bar roughly, just over 1,000 microseconds of injection, which 1,000 microseconds on an engine that's revving nearly to 5,000, that's generally my hard limit for when we're taking them on track. So we're at 340 horsepower and 525 foot-pound of torque, which is plenty. It's about where we've always set the other engine, which we've got a ported head and stuff like that. Because we haven't had this engine out, or we haven't had the manifold off, the turbo off, we've not tapped in for exhaust pressure and exhaust temperature on this. So we're not pushing this any further until we've done that, because we want to make sure everything's where we want it to be before we start pushing it harder. Because if we're getting 4 bar exhaust pressure and we start putting another half a bar of boosting, that's when you're going to start blowing things up. So we know what we need to do now. This engine just needs to come out of here, put it in the other car, put all the instrumentation on, and then just get it on here and run it again, and just see what we can do with it, basically. But I know this one's good. We're going to use this car as a donor for parts. Some of the stuff's going to come off it, we're going to get rid. Some of it we'll keep, but it's a good, clean, straight shell that we can just park up and just leave it there in case we have a problem, because a lot of bits are expensive on these cars. For some reason they seem to hold the money a lot better than sort of equivalent age Audi Volkswagens. So I don't know how much extra we're going to add into this video. Obviously we've got to get this engine out. The engine's already out of the other car. They did that while I were away, but they needed a little bit of direction, a bit of insight into what we're going to do with this. But we're there now, we're where we need to be. I'd like to have got a bit more power out of it as it is, but we don't want to push as luck as we are at the minute. There's lots more stuff, and the idea with this, now we've ended up scaling it back, we'll probably do this as a, not a build series as such, but we'll probably do things in a little bit of stages if we can, like if we do the cams and the headwork and stuff on this engine. But we'll see how we get on, because they're all a lot of work. Just to do valve springs and cams in one of these is a pig of a job. So it's not something lots of people are going to want to do. We're selling quite a few cam kits, but we want to make sure that people are, if we're doing products, it's stuff that people want. There's no point spending loads of time doing products that you can't get, and not going to be achievable for most people. Not from a money point of view, but from a pain to fit and stuff like that, and risk versus reward, and how much you spend versus how much power you get, etc. So we'll throw some more bits in here after I've finished talking rubbish, and we'll go from there. So, the BMW engine, I think we've had up to now 70 or 80,000 views or something silly like that on the engine revving up and destroying itself. With quite a few people saying it was a misshift, money shift, all this rubbish. We do that sometimes, but that's not what that was. That was this engine running on its own oil and revving to like 10,000 RPM. I think the V-box and the CAN data on the, and the cam sensor, crank sensor stopped kicking out at 8,000, and it was sat at 8,004. Even though it only lasted a few seconds, it was a fair while. So it was probably about 10,000 RPM. Sounded pretty good, but obviously everything comes at a price, and it costs a lot of money to hear what an engine at that sort of RPM is going to, a diesel engine at 10,000 RPM is going to sound like. So really annoying, frustrating, because this is a fully built motor. We're still not 100% sure what's happened. The only thing we've found as we're stripping down now, this is cylinder 6 glow plug. Now that to me looks like some molten piston stuck to it and melted it and done what it's doing, because normally it look more like that, which that's got a bit of crap stuck to it as well. I don't think there's any of them's perfect here. Number 1's probably the best one. So whether this is a mixture between a cooling, the breathing, and whatever, because it was breathing for a fair while. We tried making some things to fix it, but we never got round to fixing it. Kirsty just ran off because she's going to be filming our new show coming. So there's a lot of stuff that could have gone wrong here. So we're going to have to figure out what it is. But Harry's just stripping all the timing chains down, and when he's got all the timing chains off and this cam out, we'll get all the rockers out, have a look at all them, whip the head studs out, get the head off and have a look. But I think it's going to be, obviously cylinder 6 looks bad, cylinder 2 didn't look too good. One of these is going to have a dodgy piston in it, I think. So we'll keep stripping it down and we'll go from there. Hopefully you don't see much radius crack in this one, because it's featured too heavily in our videos so far. So we'll pick this up when we know a little bit more. So Harry's finally got the head off. I were there, I won't say helping him maybe, but we couldn't get it off because for some reason, I think these were version 1 of our studs. I don't know what's wedging it on there, but this washer wouldn't come off the stud. So it looks like something like melted onto it. Don't know what that is, don't know why. But as you can see, there's a little bit of material deposited here on these valves and this face, and a little bit on here. So when I said cylinder 6 had got some dodgy looking stuff on glow plug, Harry was talking rubbish, he put it wrong order. It was cylinder 1. So as you can see, cylinder 1, cylinder 5, the pistons have melted. So there's not many things that make pistons melt like that. Obviously overheating the engine, which this is, it's run hot in its time but never gone mad. Too much fuel pressure and too long duration, eroding it away. It's had neither really, because it's not pushed very hard. There's people running probably 400 horsepower on a tune that we're running 350, 360. Lack of oiling, can't see why it would be. Otherwise it'd probably be them all. So unless there's a block squirter underneath there that we've not seen. Not quite sure. Just pushing it too hard, which I don't think we've done, so it's very strange. Obviously dodgy injectors can cause this sort of thing as well, but they've all been tested and they're fine, so a little bit frustrating because it's obviously started breathing over a period of time, but the compressions have always been fairly even, so it's not like we've had 2 cylinders that have been low on compression. So there's a little bit more to this than meets the eye at the minute. What it is, I'm not too sure at the moment. There's like some weird stuff going on in. No, that's not really blocking the coolant ways up there, only a tiny little hole anyway. So I think the next job, pull the sump off, get the rod bolts out, pull the pistons out and have a look, because it's very strange. This is not, I can't see how this is a result of the Runaway, because it won't melt a piston like that. It'd crack it because it'll run in too much pressure and obviously running on the oil, and obviously coming up against loads of oil, crack it or bend the rod. I'm not sure if I'll try and, as it don't fall off this absolutely rubbish engine stand. It's not helping. Oh, timing chains are all jamming up on themselves. It looks like it's coming up. Alright, so have a look at the others. It's not ideal. Really need to do something with the timing chains. But I don't think any of the rods are bent. But we'll have a look. I think I'm going to get it. I'm going to have to get Harry to strip it down and have a check. We'll whip them out and have a look instead. That's probably a better idea. but I don't think any of the rods are bent either. But this block is probably scrap looking. Oh yeah, definitely there's a big mark in there. Really big mark in there. That's looks like it's split through the steel liner as well. Just an aluminium block with some steel inserts in. Looks like that's split through that. So the first engine that we ever ran in this car, that melted a piston, or started to melt a piston. I can't remember how bad it was. It was a long time ago, a few years ago. So I can remember it being at Silson GP chasing Audi R8, but I can't remember exactly when we stripped it down. But that was one of the reasons why we had to do this rebuild anyway. The first time we did some stuff on it because the timing chain was getting a bit loose and the crank and cam signal while going out of sync. So we rebuilt all that, and then on that track day straight after, we melted the piston. And that was because as the revs increased, there was a little mapping issue, and that dropped the rail pressure but opened the duration. So we're getting a lot lower rail pressure and a lot wider duration just as we revved it past. I think it was only at 48 to 5 grand or something like that. So that's what we put that failure down to. We've not got that problem on this engine now, on this mapping. So this is something else. But these pistons were coated. They weren't the gold coating, these were the grey stuff, which obviously you can't see because it's all covered in carbon. So we're going to dig deeper. I'll see if we can come up with some idea as to what happened. But the initial impressions are we're running things a little bit hard. But I don't see how we are, because everybody always moans when we tell them what power this is at why it ain't running more. So we'll see what we can figure out. If we've got no ideas what's going on, we're going to have to reevaluate quite a few things, especially the injectors, because they are pushed quite hard, to be fair. They're not way beyond what we'd expect, but they are pushed definitely harder than we run the VAG stuff, because we've got easy upgrade options. These, not so easy. So we'll keep digging. So I don't know what Harry's doing here. I think he's measuring something, messing about with studs. But it's quite I think we looked at that yesterday. It's quite a big hole in the block. So that's done. Piston, I've cleaned it up a little bit. You see there, this is potentially why we've ended up with a runaway situation because it's worn all in there. They're so badly melted, it's got to be an injector issue. But these injectors, they were out and tested before we went out last time. So, because I weren't ready, well, I swapped them with a different car to be honest, but I weren't happy with the ones in the car and I sent them off for testing, they were fine. So, not sure what's going on there. The other pistons look alright. And that one's melted again, not quite as bad. And then where's that little piece that we found, Harry? Where's that gone? That come off. Went off this here. Yeah, so we found this in the oil pump. Obviously, we know it's definitely not to do with piston. It turns out that's from, which we flipped this upside down since I last looked at it, but that's kind of from, I think it's from there or something. There's another piece of that missing then, isn't there, Harry, somewhere?
I think it had an opening in it.
Did it? Yeah. So anyway, that broke off in, well, that in the oil pump or just in sump?
In sumps on top of the pump.
Yeah, so whether that's got in there and give us an oil interruption, I don't think Scott ever saw any oil pressure lights, but you never know. Exhaust manifold, that's just, sorry Danny, I'll just lean over here. Notice some little cracks in exhaust manifold, one there, one there, one there. It don't look like anything's fell out of it, but that's not ideal either. So I'm going to have to send the injectors off for testing, which we've got them in a box somewhere. I wouldn't be shocked if the ones in these cylinders were dead, so obviously that's not going to tell us that we've had any problems before, but I'll do the double checking. I'm going to look through the test sheets again and make sure that we weren't told that these were fine when they weren't fine. But much to everybody on YouTube's disappointment, there's no rod thrown out outside at block. The engine physically has held up to doing 10,000 RPM, just the pistons were in bad shape when that were happening, but it's not killed the other one, so they are a really strong unit. We just need to get to the bottom of why these pistons are melting. It's got to be injector related, that's the only thing that makes sense. So we're stretching them a bit too far, but we're not running silly power, so it's annoying, but it is what it is. But I think that's going to be the end of this video. We'll maybe, when we've got the BMW running with a new engine in and doing what we need to do, we'll conclude it. But I am looking out for an upgraded injector that fits. They're a very funny shape on these. I've always wanted bigger injectors for this, but we've always just put it off because it's always run pretty well. And then now we've got a problem, we're going to have to find some. So before this goes out again, I'm hoping I can have some bigger injectors that'll take more rail pressure. We can run at a shorter duration and hopefully not have this problem again, but you never know. We'll see what happens. But I'd rather not have to do this with the next engine. So we'll see what we can do.